Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron free Magic Secrets show, where we investigate magic across world history, all over the globe, and we bring you the finest techniques of magical ascension and magical evolution that you're going to find on any of these rad channels out there on YouTube. Because there's certainly many dope channels, but this may just be the dopest one. And you have wandered into the world of Dr. Zeero. So today we're going to talk about, once again, Eliphas Levi. And if you don't know, I talked a lot about him on the show so far. But so he's known as the father of modern occultism. And basically in 1854, he wrote a book called Transcendental Magic, also known as the Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic, in which he synthesized all kinds of intense magical secrets from the ancient days with modern, you could say, esotericism. And he was a Catholic guy. So it's got all these, like, this Catholic mystic stuff going on and whatnot. It's his most readable book. And he did a lot of other stuff. Some stuff got published way after his death. So I was poking around at one of his lesser known works. It's really a trilogy of books. I'm just going to kind of read you. What I'm going to read from today is a book called The Great Secret, or Occultism Unveiled. And it sounds like it's going to be the ultimate thing. Now, I'll just say right off the bat, here's the problem with this book. Now, like a lot of his other stuff that isn't transcendental magic, it's very much like he'll start off talking about some sort of magical secret of like mind power or some kind of technique. It's really interesting. He'll be telling you all kinds of gems of information. And then I'll quickly dive bomb into Jesus and his version of the Catholic God. And then he'll start his rants and meander about mythology or different historical stories. And he goes like on these tangents that get very vague. So the thing with this book is, like, all the chapter titles sound awesome. Like you're going to get something really amazing. But that's just what happens over and over and over. He just starts meandering on random subjects, and he loses the focus, it would seem, from what he was talking about in the first place. So it's kind of a little bit of a red herring. It's kind of, it'll let you down a little bit, unless, of course, you're Catholic or Christian, and then this will make more sense to you. But still, it's worth checking out. So I'm just going to read the back real quick. So The Great Secret completes a trilogy of books by Eliphas Levi, published in his Studies in Hermetic Tradition series, the two previous volumes being the Book of Splendors and the Mysteries of the Kabbalah. Taken together, these writings represent a fitting memorial to one who has been both the keeper of the Hermetic tradition and the absolute renovator of esoteric thinking in Europe in the 19th century. You will be as gods, knowing good and evil. So concludes what Eliphas Levi considered to be his last testament, his most important and final treatise, and a summation of his esoteric philosophy. This volume is the conclusion of the work he started with Book 1, The Hieratic Mystery, or the Traditional Documents of High Initiation, published as the Book of Splendors, which, by the way, if you want to learn about Baphomet, or Baphomet, as people often say, and what's going on there and what Levi really thought, you have to read the Book of Splendors. There's a whole section on it. And it would really clear up all kinds of misconceptions really fast. But it's a difficult book to get your hands on. That's always expensive. But anyway, The Great Secret contains his final two works. Book 2, The Royal Mystery, or Art of Subduing the Powers, in which Levi discusses such topics as evil, the outer darkness, the great secret, magical sacrifice, evocations, the arcana of Solomon's Ring, and the terrible secret. Book 3, The Sacerdotal Mystery, or the Art of Being Served by Spirits, covers aberrant forces, the chaining of the devil, sacred and accursed rites, divination, dark intelligence, and the great arcanum. See, this book sounds awesome, doesn't it? But it isn't quite as dope and fresh as you might assume. But I was going to read from this, and it is chapter 3 of book 3, The Sacerdotal Mystery, or the Art of Being Served by Spirits. So chapter 3 is called The Chaining of the Devil. So, pleasure is a foe which is fated to become either our slave or our master. To possess it, we must fight it, and before we can enjoy pleasure, it has to be conquered. Pleasure makes a charming slave, but a cruel, pitiless, and murderous master. It tires, exhausts, and kills everyone it owns, after cheating all their desires and betraying all their hopes. Servitude to some pleasure is called a passion. Domination over some pleasure is called a power. Nature has partnered pleasure with duty. If we divorce it from duty, it festers and poisons us. If we devote ourselves to duty, pleasure will no longer be divorced from duty, but will follow us and be our reward. Pleasure is inseparable from goodness. The upright man may suffer, it is true, but a tremendous pleasure emerges for him out of his sufferings. Job, on his dunghill, was visited by God, who consoled and relieved him, while Nebuchadnezzar, on his throne, fell beneath a fatal hand which deprived him of his reason and transformed him into a beast. Jesus gave a shout of triumph as he died on the cross, as if he could feel his imminent resurrection, whereas Tiberius, in the midst of his criminal pleasures on Capri, laid bare the agonies of his soul in a letter to the Senate in which he wrote that he felt he died every day. Evil only gets a grip on us through our vices and through the fear with which it inspires us. The devil hunts down those who are frightened of him and flees from those who resist him boldly. The art of chaining up demons is to do good and fear nothing. You must not imagine that we are engaged in writing a book of morals. What we are doing is revealing secrets which magical science applies in spiritual healing. Hence, it is necessary to say something about possession and exorcisms. Each one of us can feel a dual life within ourselves, the struggle of the mind against the conscious, of unmanly desire against noble feelings, in a word, of the brute against the intelligent creature, the weakness of will so often betrayed by passion, the reproaches with which we upbraid ourselves, our self-mistrust, the dreams which haunt us in our waking hours. All this seems to demonstrate within us two persons of a different character, one of whom urges us to do good, while the other tries to involve us in evil. Owing to the natural anxieties arising from our double nature, it has been concluded that each of us is attended by two angels at all times, one good and the other evil, one on our right hand and the other on our left. This is purely and simply a piece of symbolism, but, as we have said before, and this is an arcanum of the science, the human imagination is powerful enough to clothe the beings whom it affirms verbally in forms which are transiently real. More than one ascetic has engaged in hand-to-hand combat with his familiar demon. In the visions which we have induced, or which arise from a morbid disposition, we appear to ourselves under forms which lend a magnetic projection to our exalted imagination. Sometimes, too, certain people who are ill or deranged are able to project forces which magnetize the objects submitted to their action, so that these objects seem to move about of their own accord. These productions of images and forces, since they do not belong to the usual order of nature, always emanate from some unhealthy condition, which is suddenly able to become contagious by the effects of surprise, of fright, or of some evil disposition. At this stage, prodigies multiply, and everything seems to be caught up in a whirl of madness. Such phenomena are clearly disorders. They are the products of the evil magnetism, and the man in the street would be right if he agrees with our definition of such beings, to call it the work of a demon. This is the mode of production of the miracles of the convolutionaries of Saint Medard, of the shakers of the Cévennes, and of many others. Thus are produced the singular features of Spiritism, People in an exalted frame of mind or in some way diseased are the focal point of all their circles, at the head of all their currents. Thanks to the action of the current and the pressure of the circles, it is possible for the sick to become incurable and for the overexcited to go mad. When visionary exaltation and magnetic derangement are produced by an invalid's chronic condition, he is either obsessed or possessed according to the seriousness of the illness. In this state, the subject is attacked by a kind of infectious hypnotism. He dreams with his eyes open, believes in and produces irrational conditions around him up to a certain point, and fascinates the sight and deceives the sense of impressionable folk in his vicinity. This is how superstition triumphs and the deeds of the devil become evident. Yes, they are evident, but the devil is not what we think. Magic could be defined as the science of universal magnetism, but this would be to take the effect for the cause. The cause, as we have said, is the ruling light of the Od, the Ab, and the Aor of the Hebrews. However, we must revert to the subject of magnetism, of which the greatest secrets are still unknown, and reveal its future theorems. Number 1. All beings existing in some form or other are polarized for the purpose of inspiring and respiring the universal life. Number 2, the magnetic forces in the three kingdoms are composed so as to strike a balance by the power of contraries. Number 3, electricity is nothing but the special heat which produces the circulation of magnetism. Number 4, medicines do not cure disease by the specific action of their substance, but through their magnetic properties. Number 5, every plant is sympathetic to some animal and antipathetic to a contrary animal. Every animal is sympathetic to one man and antipathetic to another. The presence of an animal can change the character of a disease. Many an old maid would go mad if she did not have a cat, and will be quite reasonable if she can get her cat to live on good terms with a dog. Number 6, there is not a plant, insect, or stone which does not conceal some magnetic property and which is not capable of serving the human will for good or ill. Number 7, man has a natural power of helping his fellow men, by an act of will, by the spoken word, by his look, and by signs. In order to exercise this power, it is necessary to know and to believe in it. Number 8, every act of will which does not express itself in a sign is an idle act. Signs may be either direct or indirect. A direct sign is stronger because it is more rational, but an indirect sign is always a sign or action corresponding to an idea, and as such it is capable of realizing the will. However, the indirect sign is only effective when the direct sign is impossible. Number 9, every decision to act is a magnetic projection. Every assent to an action serves to attract magnetism. Every act by consent is a pact. Initially, every pact is a free engagement. Afterwards, it is bound by fate. Number 10, to act on others without binding oneself, one needs that perfect independence belonging to God alone. Can man become godlike? Yes, by participation. Number 11, to exercise great power without being perfectly free is to consign oneself to a great fatality. This is why it is scarcely possible for a sorcerer to repent and why his damnation is so sure. Number 12, the power of the mage and the sorcerer is one and the same. With this difference, the mage clings to the tree when he cuts off the branch, while the sorcerer hangs from the very branch he is trying to cut off. Number 13, to make use of exceptional natural forces is to place oneself outside the law. Therefore, it is to submit to martyrdom if one is just, and if one is not, to legitimate punishment. Number 15 is a saying in French. God does no wonders, here you see, the king forbids them by decree. Okay, hold on. Dr. Zeero needs to hit his coffee. La-di-da. Let all that sink in for a second. Because I don't even understand half of what he's saying, but maybe you will. So to summarize, to finish this up, this is an inscription which is paradoxical in form only. The police of any given place belong to the king and are his representatives. God cannot set himself against his own police. He can throw evil popes and bad kings onto the dung heap, but he cannot disregard the ruling laws. Hence, every miracle which is done in defiance of the spiritual and legal authority of the Pope or against the temporal and legal authority of the king does not come from God but from the devil. God in the world means order and authority. It is Satan who stands for disorder and anarchy. Why is it not only permissible but even glorious to resist a tyrant? It is because the tyrant is an anarchist who has usurped power. Do you wish to fight victoriously against evil? Be the personification of what is good? Do you want to conquer anarchy? Be the aim of authority. Do you want to chain up Satan? Be the power of God. Now, the power of God reveals itself in human beings by two forces, collective faith and incontestable reason. Therefore, there are two kinds of unfailing exorcisms, those of reason and those of faith. Faith issues its commands to the phantoms of which she is queen because she is their mother, and they depart for a season. Reason breathes on them in the name of science, and they disappear forever. So that was your, I guess, rant of vague knowledge about chaining the devil. So that's, once again, Eliphas Levi. If you can get the book for free, poke around at it maybe one day on an afternoon during lunch. I don't really recommend that you need to run out and buy it. It just, like I said, it sounds a lot cooler than it is. It's got really cool chapter titles, but it just kind of runs you around in circles with a bunch of vague talk. But I thought I would bring it up today on this here show. So I'm going to do one more of these videos in the Eliphas Levi series. On Key to the Mysteries, and that episode, I believe, will come next, unless I think of something else brilliant. But stay tuned, because that one's coming. So, as always, hit the subscribe button. Let people know I exist. When you're at the bar, hanging out with your friends, talking to each other, just pull out your YouTube thing and be like, hey, you ever seen this guy before? This is Dr. Zeero. He's going to teach you all about magics and such things. You know how it goes. So, as always, blah, 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 yakety smackety. Hail Arkham, and here's your hot rockin' outro. See you later, kids.